Despite a nearly 8.5% boost in K through 12 funding, education cuts triggered during the Great Recession have yet to be fully restored. Joining me to talk about the proposed changes to the state's education budget and the potential impact on local schools is San Diego Unified School District Board member John Evans. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, if the governor's budget plan is approved, how much money will San Diego Unified be getting from the state?
Well, the governor in the January proposal, and still is included in the May proposal, is $4.5 billion additional for the local control funding formula, which is the big change. And that comes out to about $60 million for San Diego Unified from what we got the year before. However, you have to remember that we're operating with a very large deficit of about $100 million. So really all of that money is just going into filling the hole.
And I just want to touch on this briefly. That local controlled funding formula allocates more funds to school districts with a certain percentage for low-income students. Is that formula, you think, being adequately funded? Are you getting enough from this local control funding formula?
Well, absolutely not getting enough. What the formula does is addresses the issue of equity. He said that, the governor said that, you know, in Compton they need more money than in Beverly Hills to accomplish their needs. So in that sense, it is bringing equity to the system. But the problem is the base grant, how much you need for every student across the state to operate a school, whether it's in San Diego or Poway or anywhere else, is just simply not enough.
How far along is the state from restoring education cuts that were triggered during the Great Recession?
Well, basically with the local control funding formula, the goal is by the year 2020 to be where we were at before the recession, which means by the year 2020 we will be up to where we were 13 years prior. So it's a very slow climb and not very high mountain. We also have to remember we're in the bottom of the ranks in terms of the 45th to 50th in terms of per pupil funding across the nation, even at this even with these increases.
The low-level funding, as far as per student, is there a particular reason that you think that we're lower funded than the rest of the states?
That's a very good question. I mean, we've had a lot of problems in California economically and different things going on, but it really needs to be set as a higher priority. Previous generation, when I was going to school, public schools were the top priority, and it's certainly moved down since then, and we need to change that.
Governor Brown also proposed local school districts dramatically increase contribution to the California State Teachers Retirement System, which is only 67% funded right now. How would that impact local school districts?
This has a horrible impact. First of all, people need to understand this is not a San Diego or any local school district pension fund. It's a state program. And the problem is that we were thrown for a loop because basically what the governor wants us to do is to fund an unfunded state liability, basically going from 8% of the teacher salaries up to 19%, which would virtually wipe out the additional funds we're getting from LCFF. And people didn't vote for more money for the state unfunded liabilities. They voted for more money for education.
Brown also talks about paying down the state's wall of debt, which includes repaying school districts for borrowing costs and overdue payments. Do you think that will have a significant impact?
Well, what he's done is he's canceling the deferred payments, getting them up to date. It sort of cleans up the state's books, and it requires a certain amount of money. What we would like to have is the real wall of debt is the money that's owed to us from the past years. We have sent bills that the state is required to do certain things for the last several years, and the total right now is about $74 million. If they were to repay that debt, that money would actually go straight to the students in the classroom.
The governor's updated budget proposal also includes some money for the implementation of the new Common Core education standards. Where is that money going to be spent?
Well, that money was pretty much allocated for the current year and for the next year, and that we're primarily spending it on professional development. Other schools have technology needs. We're pretty far ahead on that, so it's going to go to professional development, and it's very, very embedded in the system, and we're very far along on that.
And isn't some of the money also going to computer, internet to get things up to speed, or not in our district?
In terms of, for our district, we only, about 7% of it was spent on that, because with the voters locally have already approved the bond funds which provide the technology infrastructure across the district.
I see. If you had to tell Governor Brown one thing that you would like changed with this budget proposal, what would that be?
Well, first of all, don't pass on unfunded state liabilities to the local districts. That's not what local control funding formula is about. It's about spending money for education on education.
Alrighty. Well, there's a lot more about this on our website, kpbs.org. John Evans, thank you so much for this update.
Okay, we'll be working on it for the next month until the state passes the budget.
All right. Well, keep us posted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.